There's a soil treatment so effective, so quietly powerful, that the largest sod farms in this country would prefer you never learn the 3 simple steps that make it work. Because the moment you understand it, the moment you actually apply it on your own property, you stop being their customer forever, and you stop being part of a multi-billion-dollar replacement cycle that was never designed to end. Every spring, millions of American homeowners walk outside, look at their patchy, yellowing, half-dead lawns, and reach for the same answer their neighbors reached for. The same answer the magazines and the television commercials told them was the only answer. They call a sod company, they spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. They replace the grass, and 2 years later, the new sod starts dying in the exact same spots, in the exact same shapes, and the cycle starts all over again, on schedule, year after year. Before we open this vault, if these stories matter to you, the best way to preserve this wisdom is simple. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share these vaults with those who need to remember what we forgot. Because what I am about to show you was hidden in plain sight in the field journals of soil scientists who tried to warn us decades ago before the synthetic lawn industry took over the conversation entirely and rewrote what every homeowner was told to believe about their own yard. The truth, the uncomfortable truth that almost nobody in the lawn care aisle of your local hardware store will ever say out loud, is that your grass is not the problem. Your grass is just the visible symptom of something far more important happening underneath it, in a world you cannot see without a microscope and a willingness to look. The men and women who run the largest sod operations in this country know exactly what that something is, because they live and breathe it every single day on their own farms, where they spend a fortune protecting the very thing they hope you never replicate at home. I put together a complete guide that walks you through the entire process, with the exact materials, the exact timing, the exact application depths, and the recovery schedule that brings dead, lifeless soil back to full living function. The link for that guide is in the description below this video, pinned at the very top, and I will mention it again in a moment. But first, let me show you what is really happening under your feet right now, because once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Take any tired, struggling lawn in America, anywhere from Maine to California, and pull a single cubic inch of soil from 3 inches below the surface, right at the root zone. Send that sample to a biological soil laboratory, the kind that actually counts microbial life under a microscope, and you will see something that should not be possible in the year we live in. A teaspoon of healthy living soil contains, on average, over 1 billion individual bacteria, several yards of fungal threads, thousands of protozoa, dozens of microscopic predators, and a community of invisible workers all moving water, nutrients, and carbon in perfect coordination. A teaspoon of dead, compacted lawn soil from a typical American suburb contains almost none of that, sometimes nothing measurable at all under standard testing. It is, biologically speaking, closer to concrete than to the rich forest floor your grass evolved on over thousands of years of natural selection. This is the secret the sod industry will never put in a brochure, will never mention in a sales call. They are not really selling you grass, they are selling you living biology, grown on dark, organic, microbially active fields, sliced thin, rolled up, and carried to your truck like a stolen ecosystem. When you lay that sod over your dead, compacted, sterile soil at home, you're placing a thriving living organism on top of a graveyard and asking it to survive on borrowed life. It survives for a season, maybe 2, on the biology it brought with it from the farm, biology that slowly bleeds out into the dead soil below and is never replaced. And then it suffocates, browns, thins, and dies, and you call them again exactly as the business model assumes you will. Before we continue, tell me in the comments what country you're watching from. I'm curious how many homeowners around the world are discovering the same broken cycle at the same time. And if you're not subscribed yet, now is the moment, because what I am about to show you will completely change the way you look at every patch of soil in your yard, every dead spot, every bare patch you have been blaming on the grass. This next part is the part the sod farms truly do not want spreading, and you will understand why in about 30 seconds. Soil scientists at the United States Department of Agriculture, working through the Natural Resources Conservation Service, have been documenting this pattern for over 40 years across every climate zone in North America. Their own published data, available freely on government servers if you know where to look, shows that for every 1% increase in soil organic matter, an acre of land can hold roughly 20,000 additional gallons of water in the root zone. That single statistic, which almost no homeowner has ever heard, explains nearly every dead spot in your yard, every dry patch, every place where the grass refuses to grow no matter what you spray on it. Your soil cannot hold water because there is nothing alive in it left to build the porous structure that holds the water in the first place. Compaction has crushed the air pockets. Decades of synthetic fertilizers have starved out the very microbes that build soil structure, and what is left is a thin, hard, lifeless mineral layer where nothing can root, nothing can breathe, and nothing can actually thrive for more than a season or 2. This is exactly why I created the complete restoration guide. Because once you understand the diagnosis, the treatment becomes obvious and repeatable. Inside the guide, I walk you through the full 3-step protocol with the exact tool depths, compost application rates in cubic yards per 1,000 square feet, microbial inoculant ratios for spring and fall, and a 12-month recovery calendar. There are tables for cool season grasses, separate tables for warm season grasses, region by region maps for the United States, and a troubleshooting section for the 4 most common failure points where homeowners give up too early. Everything is in one single document, organized so you can read it once and use it for the rest of your life, on every property you ever own, with no expiration and no monthly subscription. The link is pinned at the very top of the description below this video, and also placed in the first pinned comment so you can find it on your phone. One access, the complete knowledge, permanent. Now let me show you the 3 steps in plain language so you understand exactly what the guide expands on and why each step matters in the order it appears. Step 1 is the part most homeowners skip entirely. And it is the precise reason every fertilizer, every miracle product, every weed killer ultimately fails on their lawn. It is called core aeration, and it is absolutely not the cheap spike aerator shoes or roller you can buy at a hardware store on a Saturday morning. A spike aerator pushes a metal point straight into the ground, and the physics of that action actually compacts the soil further around the hole, making the original problem mathematically worse over time. A true core aerator, the kind landscape professionals rent or own, pulls a hollow plug of soil completely out of the ground, 2 to 3 inches deep, leaving an open vertical channel for air, water, and biology to descend into the root zone where they belong. For a tired, struggling lawn, you want those channels 2 to 4 inches apart across the entire surface of the yard, which is far more aggressive than what professional lawn services typically perform on a single visit because it costs them more time on the machine. Step 2 is the part the sod industry hopes you never discover, because it is what makes the entire restoration self-sustaining over time. Once those channels are open and the cores are still scattered on the surface to break down naturally, you top dress the entire lawn with a thin, even layer of finished, biologically rich, well-aged compost. We are talking about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch layer, raked or brushed in carefully so it falls down into the open holes you just punched into the soil. This compost is not for the grass. This compost is food for the microbes and a delivery vehicle to carry living biology down into the root zone where the plant actually needs it. A standard suburban lawn of around 5,000 square feet needs roughly 1 to 2 cubic yards of quality compost for this single application, depending on how depleted your soil already is. At local prices, that is $50 to $150 in materials, compared to the $1,000 to $3,000 a single sod replacement would cost you. Step 3 is what closes the biological loop, and it is the part that almost nobody talks about publicly, even in the broader gardening and homesteading world online. After the compost is in and watered lightly to settle, you inoculate the soil with mycorrhizal fungi and a broad-spectrum beneficial microbial blend. Mycorrhizal fungi form a permanent symbiotic partnership with grass roots that extends the plant's effective reach for water and nutrients by a factor of 100 or more, in some published studies even higher. A single grass root colonized by these fungi can pull water and nutrients from a volume of soil it could never physically reach on its own, no matter how aggressively it tried to grow. This is exactly why undisturbed native prairies survived historic droughts that killed every cultivated lawn and every cornfield around them for miles in every direction. They had the biology. Your lawn does not, until you give it back. If you want the exact branded products, the precise application rates per square foot, and the spring, summer, fall, and winter timing for your climate zone, all of that is in the guide linked in the description. I have included the brand specifications I have personally tested over multiple seasons, regional sources for high-quality compost, and a printable checklist you can take outside with you on the day you do the work. One link, one document, complete and permanent access for life. It is in the description and pinned as the first comment below this video. Now let me tell you what to actually expect once you complete this work on your own property. The first thing you'll notice, often within just 10 to 14 days of finishing the protocol, is the color of the grass itself starting to change in a way that surprises you. A lawn fed exclusively with synthetic nitrogen for years has a flat, almost plastic green color that looks painted on. The kind of green that looks fine in photos but feels lifeless in person. A lawn growing in restored, living soil develops a deep, layered green that catches light differently in the morning sun, and again in the long evening light. A green that seems to have depth and shadow inside it. It looks like a lawn from a memory, the kind of grass you remember from your grandparents' yard, before the chemical revolution of the 1960s and 70s took complete hold of American suburbia. That is not nostalgia. That is biology, and you can measure it with a chlorophyll meter if you want the data to confirm what your eyes are telling you. Within the first full growing season, you will notice your lawn handling stress completely differently than it ever has in your entire time on the property. A lawn rooted in restored soil holds water in its root zone for days, longer than a chemically maintained lawn, sometimes a full week longer in peak summer heat. It bounces back from heat waves, heavy foot traffic, pet damage, and short droughts in a way that feels almost supernatural to a homeowner who has only ever known the modern synthetic method of lawn care. This is not magic. This is what grass was supposed to do and has always done. When given back the living soil it co-evolved with for millions of years of plant history. By the second full year of the protocol, you will likely never call a sod company again, and you will start telling neighbors what you did, and they will not entirely believe you at first. That is the moment that matters most in this entire conversation. That is the moment you stop being a paying customer of the industrial lawn industry, and you start being something older and quieter, a steward of a small living piece of land that you actually own outright. That is the precise moment a sod farm regional executive cannot count you in next year's revenue forecast spreadsheet, and your address gets quietly removed from the mailing list. Multiply that single decision by 10 million homeowners across this country, all making the same realization in the same year, and you begin to understand exactly why this knowledge has been allowed to fade so quietly into the background of public conversation. There is one important warning I absolutely have to give you before we close out this video, and please do not skip it because it can ruin the entire effort. Do not attempt this restoration protocol if you have applied broad-spectrum synthetic fungicides to your lawn within the last 6 months, because the chemistry will fight you the entire way. Those products will kill the very biology you are about to spend money introducing, and you will waste both your time on the work and your money on the inputs without ever seeing the results you came for. Wait the full 6 months, let the residues break down naturally in the soil, and then begin the protocol with confidence. I explain this in detail in the guide, including the specific active ingredients to watch for on product labels and the exact washout periods documented in peer-reviewed turfgrass research. There is also a critical regional timing consideration that matters more than most homeowners realize when they first start, and getting this wrong wastes a whole growing season. Cool season grasses like fescue, ryegrass, and Kentucky bluegrass respond best to this treatment in early fall, when soil temperatures are still warm but the air temperatures are cooling and the grass is entering its strongest growth phase of the year. Warm season grasses like Bermuda, Zoysia, and St. Augustine respond best in late spring as soil temperatures climb above 65 degrees consistently, and the grass is actively waking up from winter dormancy. Doing it in the wrong seasonal window will not destroy your work, but it will slow your visible results by an entire growing season. And most people lose patience and quit before they ever see the real payoff. The full timing chart is included in the guide, organized by USDA hardiness zone, so you can find your zone and follow the instructions without guessing. Just to remind you one more time, the complete guide, with every product specification, every application rate, every regional calendar, and the troubleshooting section, is linked in the description and pinned as the first comment below this video. It is the same document I have used personally to walk hundreds of American homeowners through this exact process, from sterile, compacted yards to lawns. Their neighbors literally stop their cars in the street to look at and ask about. One access, all of it, forever, with no recurring fee and no upsells. The sod farms are not evil. They are simply businesses, and businesses do not advertise the cure for the problem they sell the recurring treatment for. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is just basic economics. And now you know how the entire game has been played underneath your feet for the last several decades of suburban history. But you do not have to play that game anymore because the soil under your house is yours. It has always been yours, and it remembers exactly how to be alive when given the chance. If this video helped you see your lawn, your soil, and the entire industry differently, do me one small favor before you click away. Subscribe to this channel, hit the bell for new uploads, and leave a like on this video, because every single signal you give tells the algorithm that this kind of forgotten, recovered knowledge deserves to reach more people who need it. There are many more vaults to open, many more soil truths to recover, and many more sterile yards across this country waiting to be brought back to life. I will see you in the next one.